Hey everyone, what's going on? It is Tim Bursons here from Amplified Metabolism, back with another video about health, about nutrition, about the mind and the body and how it all works together, and most importantly, about how you can start living a more healthy life, more vital, more energy, better sleep, better recovery, all of those things. So today's video is a very special one. It's a very new topic in the world of the science world and the health world. But from everything that I've read and a lot of research studies that I've seen, along with other sources that I've pulled and a lot of sources that you might not necessarily usually think of, in the terms of health and science is not just Western medicine, but Eastern medicine. And that includes the entire organism, which means the functioning of the mind as well. So in today's video, I want to talk about how your emotions, how your thoughts and your emotions are tied into your health. And this is a really important topic. So now I want to stress the importance of keeping an open mind about this stuff. It is something that you're going to have to test and see how it affects you personally and start to become more aware of what you're thinking and what you're feeling from a day-to-day basis. The tendency is to want to grab onto some sort of scientific research study and say, well, this study says this, so I should do that. Now I don't have to worry about it and just put it on autopilot, or I have to make sure that I follow these rules. Well, that's not really a good approach, because every single person's body, and not only their body, but the circumstances and the situation that they're personally in, not to mention their psychology and their emotional makeup, are going to be different. And if everyone has these different circumstances, different makeup, different bodies, then you can't just take a blanket recommendation. Now, yes, there are correlations. There are some things that we can see that, yes, this substance has this effect in this sort of situation. And so we can start to learn and piece these things together. But what you really want to do is use that intellect as a background to help inform your experience, because experience is where wisdom comes from. And what we really want when we're trying to improve our bodies is nutritional wisdom or health wisdom. That's the only way to increase your vitality. Just knowing that this protein is good, or that that sort of starch is good, or sugar is good, or something like that, whatever it is that you're looking at, it's not actually going to have a benefit or an impact in the real world, in your life, in your experience, unless you turn it into the experience by informing the experience with that intellect. So having said that, keep an open mind. We don't want to be informing this moment from all of the past and closing off the things that have not yet existed in the future from coming in to experience. That's the thinking of, the world is flat. We can't consider the idea that it might be a sphere. And then, obviously we find out that is true. Now there's a new version of that going on in science, where this is the way science is, this is what we know, so this is all that is, and it's closed off to what can be. So there, my little mini rant about that is over. Let's dive into the video about how your emotions and your thoughts affect your health and your experience of your body. So to start off, I want to walk you through a quick little imagination exercise. So take a second and kind of calm yourself, get centered, take a moment, and I want you to imagine that you're in your kitchen. And you go and you grab the handle of the fridge and you open it up and you feel the cool air come out. You take out the lemon, and you take out a cutting board and a knife from the pantry right next to it. You put it down, you cut the lemon, the zest comes off of it, you smell the lemon juice. Do all these things, imagine all these senses. Now you take this lemon, this juicy lemon, and you bite down on it. Now if you're doing this imagination properly and you're really imagining these senses, in your actual reality right now, your tongue will start to salivate. Your mouth will start to salivate from that bitter. You'll actually kind of feel it. Now take that knife in your imagination and imagine putting it between your fingers, and you immediately, there's like some sort of reaction that happens in your body, almost apart from you. Your body has this reaction. And now you can even take another step further. Imagine the most attractive partner in the world is giving you these seductive looks, starts to undress and beckon you into the bedroom. Well, if you're doing that imagination, super sensory and overload, you'll start to have changes in your body. And so that's really the point of this, is that what you're thinking will have an effect in your body, and that's directly provable in your experience right now. And so that direct proof is a really important thing to think about. Now, let's take this outside of the realm of just sensory things. You're in a situation where something scares you. You almost get into a car accident and you kind of swerve off the road. there's this fear response that happens in your body. Your body has to mobilize that energy. We talk about this all the time with cortisol and adrenaline and how those stress hormones are so detrimental when they're turned on for too long. So in a short-term situation, not a big deal. Now imagine that because of that car, the almost car accident where you swerved out of the way, now you're up at night sleeping, thinking about that car accident, worried that it might happen again, worried that there might be another car accident you have to be careful of, that every single time you get in the car, boom, body's filled with anxiety. Now, this is a really overt example of this, but what is happening, if you really ask yourself what's happening in this situation, is that now a past event is creating a situation that is firing neuronal networks within your brain, causing your body to react with a stress response that is not overcomable because it's within you. It's not actually out in the world. And therefore, it will remain turned on indefinitely until you let go of that fear of getting into your car or of getting into a car accident. Once you let it go, now you can get into the car and not have that problem. And then that is the only time that you can actually start to maybe enjoy being in the car again, which is a whole other topic we'll get to in a second. So the point being that all of our lives and all of our identities are based on the past, if you really want to think about it. We are these beings of history. We had this happen to us at this age, this happened to us at this age, then we graduated from school, then we got a job, then we did this. And so these things have created our identity of who we are up until this point. Now that includes some past traumas, that includes some fear, that includes some anxiety. It also includes the protection of that identity, because you don't want that to be shooken. You don't want to lose your identity by some event now happening that proves that you are a way that you didn't think you were, or proves that you were a way that you didn't want to be. A big one here is guilt. If you feel guilty, or if you're worried that you might be wrong, or that that people might not like you, then you're going to be going out into every single interaction trying to protect yourself from being the one that's not liked, or protect yourself from being the one that's wrong. And so therefore you're constantly at the mercy of the world, similar to the person who is at the mercy of their car when they get into the car, being completely afraid that this thing might happen again. Their emotions are now tied to the world, and they are not free to choose their perception. Now, of course, they are free to choose the perception, but they are continually, habitually choosing the fearful or the negative emotions. And those negative emotions are releasing cortisol and adrenaline and all the other cascade of stress hormones that we talk about on this channel into their body. Now, this is a really important part, because if you have this stress turned on all the time, and you have it turned on beyond your awareness, meaning that you think this is just the way the world is, and you don't realize that this emotion that you're feeling, or this aspect of reality, is actually fear, or is guilt, or is grief, or is anger, or is any of those negative emotions, then your body is consistently leaking those hormones into your body, into your system, in order to maintain those thoughts that you are continuing to think. The mind influences the body, but then the body feeds it back to the mind. There's this loop that's going on. And so really, when you start to understand this, you understand that becoming aware is the first step and is so incredibly crucial to all of this. If you are, there are probably a bunch of you, maybe some of you are listening to this and saying, wow, that resonates a lot. Maybe there's a lot other of you who are saying, well, I'm not really emotionally, damaged or unstable or unhappy or anything. Like I'm fine, but my health still isn't where I want it to be. But here's the thing, is that if you aren't even aware that you might be experiencing a negative emotion, then there's no way for you to recognize that that is having the effect on your body. I had this example of a friend who had a bad habit. He would pick his beard whenever he was nervous. And so he would, be picking his beard when he's anxious, he's focused on something, not really paying attention. And then he would catch himself every once in a while. Now, before he was really starting to catch himself, or he was placing that intention to catch himself, he would just look in the mirror and see that his beard got all splotchy. So an action that he was performing, that he was unaware that he was performing because it was on autopilot from the habitual subconscious mind, was having an effect on his physical appearance and his physical reality. So the same thing could be happening where you just think that that's the way the world is. You think that you're a limited person in the world who is vulnerable, and you don't have this permanent security because one day you're going to die. That's the deepest level of it. But everyone has this. And as you have these things that are constantly informing your reality and constantly forming these thoughts to be triggered, it's the same thing as picking your beard when you're not really paying attention to it. So the way to overcome that is to start to recognize throughout the day, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Okay, just watch it. The best way to do this, the absolute best way to make any real change through awareness like this, is to let yourself go, which is to say, let the subconscious mind, the automatic programs, the habitual self, the conditioned self, go on autopilot. Let it go. Don't try to control it, but you step aside and just watch it as if you are another person. You watch as if you are this other person watching yourself go by. And what you'll notice as you do this is that from that outside perspective, when you're not identified with those thoughts and emotions, you will now recognize this was a stress response. This was an anger. This was fear. This was guilt. I couldn't see that before because it was me. But when I stepped outside of it, then I saw it. And so this is really important exercise that you can start to do to see if it is in fact something that might be affecting you. And I'll tell you that if you are dealing with health issues, then it absolutely is on some level something that is affecting you. And so once you start to become aware of what it is that you are thinking and feeling throughout the day, the next important step is to recognize something very, very important. And that is that nothing in the outside world of conditions has the power to make you feel a certain way. It might be a triggered automatic response, like a Pavlov dog. When we ring the bell, you salivate. So when this person yells at you, you feel afraid or you feel angry or whatever it might be. But you can start to recognize that when that person yells at you, you don't have to get angry or you don't have to be afraid. There are other people in the world who would be in this exact same situation and not respond the way that you're responding. And that brings the power back to you because it tells you you are in control of how you perceive things. You get to choose. You get to choose whether you want to react negatively or positively. And once you truly choose that you don't want to continue to practice and to habituate these negative emotions, then you can start to see things in a new way. Now you can start to actually take a step back, and when you see yourself react that way, recognize it, let it go, and just see it as the awareness that it was. So with this example of my friend who was picking his beard, the splotchy beard, he couldn't stop doing it. He would just continue to catch himself, and he didn't know how to stop it. And he kept beating up on himself, being like, why am I doing this? This is terrible. And so I told him, next time you catch yourself doing it, don't condemn yourself. Don't make yourself wrong for doing it. Just watch it. Just say, okay, I'm doing it again. I see it now. Okay, I'm aware. And literally the next morning he came to me and said, why did that work? I'm not picking my beard anymore. Like, why did that work? And the reason is because that guilt or that condemnation of saying I'm wrong for doing this is perpetuating a cycle that now, because I'm wrong for doing this, I deserve punishment. And so now there's this negative cycle going on. And if we take that example and zoom out to your entire life, we can recognize that all the areas that guilt might be affecting you, specifically guilt, but all of the negative emotions, that you are creating this a scenario where the personality structure starts to believe that it's wrong and in need of punishment. And so it seeks this punishment on unconscious levels, like picking your beard. And you have to think about that for a second. If you could do a habit like biting your nails, picking your nails, whatever it is, some sort of habit in the background that you aren't even aware you're doing, then that means that there is a portion of you that is just operating on automatic pilot. You have to recognize that. And so because that is the power, because that's the 95% of the day that self is doing its thing, running all those programs, and that 5% of you, the conscious mind, that makes the decisions and makes these directions and decides where to go, that is not where the power comes from. The power comes from that automated program. And so you, as the conscious mind, want to watch that automated program so that you can start to tweak it and pull it out. And instead of controlling every movement in your life, you are now the one who steps back and puts things there, watches, okay, it's going this way, puts things there. You're just becoming aware and guiding. It's like surfing. It's not like immediate jerky movements. You have to guide it. You have to guide your subconscious mind through these habituated patterns. Now, the great news is that once you can get out of the negative emotions for a lot of things, you can actually start ramping up from not out of the negative to the neutral, but actually from neutral now into positive. So this is the state of the courage where you're overcoming and you feel that rush of energy of that courage. This is that gratitude where you're happy to be alive. You're excited about the things. You're engaged. You're involved. You're fully there. You're in joy and love and peace. These things, like, that's the foundational aspect that must be there for a successful life. It's not the goal of the life. It is the foundational aspect that must be there for the successful life. And if you can get to a place where you can release the negative emotions because you're choosing no longer to continue to empower and perpetuate those negative emotions when something in the world tries to trigger you, and you instead say, I want to now practice this new way of being, then you start flooding your body with good hormones, the oxytocin and endorphins and all the stuff that helps to put your body into a more relaxed state. Your brain waves get out of that high stress beta, they drop into alpha or even theta when you're in meditation. And now it pulls all of your stress down into the parasympathetic nervous system where you can heal and you can grow and you can repair. And so that is a crucial step that must happen if you are going to heal your body. And in fact, while this is new science, there is science to support this. There was a study done on gratitude where people would go into a meditation and experience gratitude, people who were taught and walked through a practice of how to do this. And within 4 days, they saw immunoglobulin A, which is a primary marker for immune function, raise something like 50%, something really high, and cortisol drop something equivalent, something 60 or 70%, something like that. So we're seeing right there with the blood marker numbers that the stress is going down and the healing is going up, right there in the blood work. Now, the science is great to support whatever it is that we are trying to do, but it really matters about whether you are doing it, and when you do it in your life and experience it, then it doesn't matter what the science is saying. It matters to you personally because you have now experienced it. So the very first step, like I said, is to just become aware and to start to let go, start to choose differently. And because the habituated self, the conditioned self, that subconscious self has a certain momentum to it, you can't, if you fight where it is going and what it is doing, you're only going to make the problem worse. You have to let it do what it's doing and decide, I'm going to choose different. Because as soon as you fight it, you're now putting your power and your energy into that same thing to continue to happen. But if you can see this thing happening and say, okay, but I want to go here, then now, because you want to go in a different direction, you are disempowering this by removing your focus and empowering this. I love this example. It was one of my friends told it to me about the way that the neuronal brain networks work to create these continual responses, which is basically what I'm talking about when I say the habituated self or the subconscious self. And that is, imagine you're on a snowy hill and the snow is falling, you're out with your friends, you have this sled. You sled down this path and it's kind of hard at first, but you're plowing the snow away and creating the path. Then you do it again and it's a little easier. And then after a while, like this path is just shoots you straight down. Well, say that path is a stress reaction or a negative reaction to the world or a belief, a limited belief that you're unhealthy or that you can't do this or that, any of those things. This pathway is going to be so much easier than forming a new path. But if you stop going down this pathway and just go down this path instead, the first time might be kind of hard, but then the next time it's going to be a little easier, and then it's easier until it's just practiced habit. This is the same as any habit, any skill. You practice it over and over, grease those neuronal grooves, get to that place where it's nice and easy. Now, the other pathway, because it's still snowing, will slowly become less and less easy to go down. At first, this is real hard to choose, this is real easy. But as soon as you start practicing this enough, you get to a place where this becomes way less likely, way harder to choose than this. And why would you choose the bad one anyway? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to go out of your way to practice this bad habit, this bad negative emotion trail, when you have this joyful, loving trail over here that's so much easier? So that's the ultimate state. That's where you want to get to. But it requires that practice and it requires awareness. Because if you aren't aware that you're going down a negative path, then you're going to continue doing it and just take it for granted, thinking that's the way the world works. So The real takeaway from this is to start to become aware throughout the day, maybe emotionally recognize, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? 10, 12 times a day. If that's too much, start with just 3. Set an alarm on your phone instead of 3. Set 3 times throughout the day. What am I feeling right now? Especially a good one is right before your meal. Sit down and take a second to really think, what am I feeling and thinking right now from an outside perspective? If I was a person over there watching me filming this video right now, I'm going to gain a lot more insight than I can see while I'm the one in the body filming the video. And so these insights start to come to you when you're able to do that. And as long as you can stay let go and just allow those to be there and allow yourself to watch it and choose based on that, saying yes to everything, not denying it, not pushing away, not saying, I don't want to look at that. Because that's insane, right? Why would you not want to look at something that is? It already is. So if you want to have power, you have to accept it and move forward rather than accept it, or rather than resign to it or look at it and lament the past that brought you to that point. That's that guilt mindset, the past mindset that's going to keep you in that negative loop. We've also talked about how biochemically there are a lot of these feedback loops that happen in your body where, for example, cortisol will increase estrogen, which increases serotonin, that increases inflammation and endotoxin, which is now increasing cortisol, which is now increasing estrogen, and it goes in this loop. And that if you can bump yourself out of it, you can get into the positive loop. Well, this is the exact same thing that's happening. If you are continuing to choose the way you've always chosen, you're going to continue to get what you've always got. And we've just proven from direct experience that the way you think and the way you feel is going to have an effect on your body, and it's going to have effect on your chemistry. So this is the most important thing to understand when it comes to your health and your body and your wellness. Now, yes, the foods are still important. Yes, you want to be eating pro-metabolic foods and avoiding the foods that are bad for you. Those things don't necessarily change. Those are the input, the chemicals that you are inputting into your body. But the question is, how's your body responding to the input? If I'm giving my body floods and floods and floods of good stuff, but it's not using any of them, well, then what's the use of it? If I'm flooding my body with bad stuff, but my body is so resilient that it will pick out the few good things from those foods and completely discard the bad things, well, now I'm still going to be in health despite the fact that I'm eating a little worse. But that doesn't mean that you want to eat worse. It means that you want to focus on the foods that will restore, heal, repair your body, pump you up to a new level. And you want to do so while also letting go of the mental, emotional blocks that are creating this spiral of negative emotions that are causing your body to stay inflamed, to stay unrecovered, to stay in the stress mode. When you can release those things, you will firsthand experience know that this is having a positive effect on your health. And in fact, you'll have many mysterious illnesses just vanish. You'll see your skin getting better. You'll see the bags under your eyes getting better, your hair going better. All of these things will happen when you really start to let go of these things. And it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't even happen in a week or a month. It takes time. You got to make this a consistent practice. That's why meditation is so important. That's why recognition is so important. So with all of that in mind, please try to be more aware throughout the day. Try to watch yourself. Try to let yourself go and just stay back as the witness watching it to see and recognize your own patterns. Self-learning is so important for all of this work. With that, I think I'm through for this video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give me the thumbs up. Please share it with anyone that you think might get some inspiration out of this or help them see things in a new way. Please subscribe for updates. I'm trying to do videos Monday through Friday, so I will continue putting these videos out. Leave comments if you like this video. It was a little different from my other stuff, and I want to know what you think. I also have a Patreon account in the About page. If you like this information and you want to donate, please go over there and subscribe. You have no obligation to. I appreciate your support either way. With all of that, please have a wonderful day, full of awareness, full of happiness. Enjoy your day, enjoy yourself, enjoy your people, enjoy your food, enjoy all of it. There's so much to enjoy. Don't get caught in those negative emotions. All right. Peace, guys. Have a good one.